Sema, DJ Sava, two British nerds, coming to you from this beautiful room. I hope everyone is literally well and doing well, whoever you are, and of course, wherever you are. So it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, there was breaking news where basically Disney and Sony couldn't come to an arrangement or a business arrangement in regards to the next two Spider-Man movies, which basically broke out in that Spider-Man is now leaving the MCU. He is not part of the MCU anymore. So all of the Spider-Man movies that come next will have no involvement in regards to Marvel. So a lot of people have blamed and said it's Disney's fault because Disney apparently wanted 50%. They wanted more money than previously, which was 5%. And then people were saying, well, hold on a second, like, no, it's Sony's fault because this is the first Spider-Man movie that's made $1 billion. And they're saying, no, it's Sony's fault because as soon as basically Sony saw that $1 billion, they retracted and tried to keep apparently all the money for themselves, basically. So it's Sony's fault. Me personally, and this is my take on it before we go a little bit deeper. I'm a Spider-Man fan. I love Spider-Man. Apart from Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland's Spider-Man has been amazing. The storytelling has been amazing since Captain America Civil War to Avengers Endgame to, Homecoming, Far Away From Home. It's been an amazing asset, an amazing creative creation from both aspects in regards to Sony and Marvel. It's been an amazing ride. But for me, it's like at the end of the day, people are blaming Sony, people are blaming Disney. At the end of the day, when you look at it from actually not from a fan point of view, not from a creator's point of view, it's business. So I don't blame potentially either of them. For me, it's a business transaction that no one actually came to an agreement with. And you're thinking, well, hold on a second, like, Marvel's better and Sony. Yeah, of course. As a Spider-Man fan, I can say, yeah, cool. Like, they should have the deal should have gone through. You can't have now future Spider-Man movies basically without the MCU, and we're gonna go into that basically later in a bit. But at the end of the day, it's a business deal that just literally came down to basically this. Now, potentially this can even continue in where we might see Tom Holland again within the MCU. Like, who literally knows that another deal can be struck? And that's the thing. When this deal first kicked off, I believe in 2016, 2015, it was a deal. It wasn't solidified that Spider-Man was going to be part of the MCU basically forever. It was literally a deal. So they never came to pretty much an arrangement. And with that being said, I want to read you an official statement basically from Sony. And they said, much of today's news about Spider-Man has mischaracterized recent discussions about Kevin Feige's involvement to the franchise. We are disappointed but respect Disney's decision not to have him continue as a lead producer of our next live-action Spider-Man film. We hope this might change in the future, but understand that there may be the many new responsibilities that Disney have given him, including all of their new added Marvel properties, do not allow for him to work on IP they do not own. Kevin is terrific, and we are grateful for his help and guidance and appreciate the path he has helped put us on, which we will continue. So basically what they're saying is the dude, the man, the fixer, Feige, the guy that's pushed the MCU forward, him being a big Spider-Man fan, he will not have any involvement basically in the Spider-Man movie. So essentially what they're saying is what Kevin implemented, his guidance, his appreciation for the Spider-Man franchise, his love for the character, his storytelling, his involvement basically, they'll be taking all of this and they'll be implementing it within the next Spider-Man movies without Kevin or Marvel's basically involvement. And of course, they're also saying that he has too much on his plate, being of course, Phase 4. And then we're going to have like maybe the X-Men movies, Fantastic Four movies, and all sorts. But really and truly, I think Feige should have stayed on. Kevin should have stayed on, literally, in, of course, on the Spider-Man movies. But I understand if there's no business deals cutting, there's no business basically deals being cut, then you're not going to give your main man to Sony. So just to move forward, pardon me, the way the Sony and Disney deal actually worked was basically Sony lent Spider-Man to Marvel, and Marvel's creative team just dug their claws in basically into the Spider-Man movies, which actually made them the movies they are today. And that's what I loved about the collaboration, because you had a Sony movie, and you had Marvel's creative spark, their storytelling, their cameos, their humor, their comic book feel to the movie, which actually made Spider-Man Far From Home one of the best Spider-Man movies, period, because it really had more Spider-Man essence, more of a Spider-Man feel than the last movie. But that's what made the last two Spider-Man movies basically great. The next thing I want to read you is this. It says, Deadline reported on Monday that Disney and Sony failed to reach an agreement regarding the continued Spider-Man partnership. Disney reportedly wanted an even split of the gross, not content to stay at the previous agreed 5%. Deadline adds, sources say that Sony, led by Tom Rothman and Tony Vancouver, came back with other configurations, but Disney didn't want to do that. If the failed negotiations stand, this means Feige will no longer serve as a producer on the next Spider-Man film starring Tom Holland, which were apparently planned. There's also the issue of other aspects of Disney and Sony's agreement, which allowed Disney's Marvel characters to appear in Sony Spider-Man's films, and vice versa. If Disney has truly walked away from the partnership, that could mean the crossover agreement, which was done in exchange for co-producer credit on Sony's films, is also off the table, and both companies would have to go to the drawing board to establish those terms. I guess in a nutshell, it was to do with money. They wanted 50%. And then you can tell by obviously that conversation probably went, Sony was like, no, like we're not basically doing that. And they both pulled out of the deal. Me being a Marvel fan, me enjoying, Spider-Man, Tom Holland since Captain America Civil War, it's the storyline they've built with him and Iron Man, with him and Happy, with him and the other Avengers. From Civil War to Endgame to literally to Far From Home, they built such an amazing storyline that really gave Spider-Man a different feel, a different energy. He had more depth, more story. He's grown much more. So this is the thing I wanted to get into. Now this deal's gone away. There's no crossover, which means you won't see Spider-Man in the MCU, and you won't see possibly in the future, you could have possibly have seen Sony characters, possibly Venom or other characters within the MCU. So in regards to the timeline, it's going to be messed up, I guess, in regards to Sony, because when the next Spider-Man movie gets made, how are they going to address what happened previously with Tony Stark's, glasses, or with Peter Parker's involvement in Endgame, or like Happy, or Stark Industries, or him getting the iron suit. That's all MCU proper. That's all MCU. So, in a nutshell, it's going to be very, very interesting in how they actually pretty much work this out. And the reason I wanted to also put this video out is because it's not finalized. We haven't heard actually anything from Disney or Marvel themselves in regards to an official statement. So you never know. A few days, a month, you get an article that says, cool, we've basically decided on a deal, and Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is basically still part of the MCU. So even though this news has broken down, they can always renegotiate and having a finalized deal in regards to possibly, having him back for future movies or the next movies that we never know. That's why obviously Sony have said there'll be a possibility to change that in the future. So that's pretty much my take. Like I said, I'm not pissed and angry basically at Sony or Disney. It's a business transaction that no one agreed on. Would it have made sense basically for Spider-Man to stay? Yes, and one of the reasons I say is because the last two Spider-Man movies totally sucked. They were so bad. They were really, really bad. I mean, I'm talking about basically the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. They were so bad. They were terrible, man. And there's no disrespect on Andrew Garfield. I have no problems with him. You know what I'm saying? As playing Peter Parker Spider-Man. But it was just the tone, the energy, the storytelling. It was one of the worst Spider-Man movies I've seen. People shit on and say Spider-Man 3 was actually bad and garbage. It wasn't that great, but I enjoyed it. Give me Spider-Man 3 over the last two Amazing Spider-Man movies. So that's the only problem. This is where the fans are kind of, I guess, really just annoyed, because they now know, if Marvel are not involved basically in this movie, they now know that this movie basically is going to be bad, possibly like the other two, like the other two Spider-Man movies. The timeline is going to be messed up, and of course there's a possibility after the third Spider-Man movie, or even if it happens, they possibly might push the reboot button and reboot the whole franchise once again and get a new character and an origin story, and it's gonna be completely just crazy, like completely crazy. But essentially, that's what I thought of when this news broke. But overall, like I said, it's a business transaction. Both parties didn't see basically eye to eye in regards to business, and there's a possibility in what I've just said might not even happen. They could rearrange and actually cut another deal, and that would basically solve the whole problem. But if not, Sony are on their own. Disney are like, cool, we got our franchise, we have our universe, we can do without Spider-Man. And that's pretty much essentially how Disney would pretty much move along, or they would basically just pretty much just buy Sony, like they bought Fox, and just make Spider-Man part basically of the MCU, which I think every single person wants. Give them the X-Men. Well, they got the X-Men, they got the Fantastic Four. I believe all they need to get the solo rights to, I believe, is the Hulk, and of course Spider-Man. So pretty much that's my feel on the whole situation. Of course, putting a question to you: how do you feel about this? What are your thoughts on basically Spider-Man, never being part of the MCU once again, or like how do you think the future Spider-Man movies will actually be now? Basically that Marvel are not involved in the mix, Disney and so forth. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, smash that YouTube subscribe button, smash that YouTube bell button, and literally, of course, catch me later on tomorrow. When I say later on tomorrow, it usually means possibly there'll be another vlog or video later on today. If not, it's all going to be done tomorrow. As always, anything that you need from me, DM me, drop all your comments down below, and yeah, we can talk. Peace.